Family ties. The story of the Chamorro dynasty. Daniel Ortega Al Jazeera is a Central American country that rarely makes global headlines. But on April 18 last year, protests erupted in the capital, Managua, and spread around the country against the government of President. Human rights organizations say the Ortega government is attacking freedom of expression. The government accuses the media of being complicit in a US-backed coup attempt. Since then, one of those journalists is Carlos Fernando Chamorro. He is one of the There is a wider context to this story that gives us an insight into the history of both journalism and politics in Nicaragua. The Chamorros have owned media outlets, including the oldest conservative paper in the country, La Prensa, as far back as 1926. Chamorro's father was also an outspoken journalist, working during the 4-decade Somoza dictatorship. He was assassinated. That's the journalism part of the story. But the Chamorro family, with one foot in journalism and the other in politics, they don't just speak truth to power. The Chamorros have. The Listening Post's Marcela Pizarro tells the story of a family that lives and works at the intersection of journalism and politics in Nicaragua. Carlos Fernando Chamorro, investigative journalist. Arturo Wallace Salinas, author of The Media in Nicaragua. Patricia Orozco, journalist, Onda Local. Moises Absalon, presenter, Dita LLEs del Momento. Source: Al Jazeera. The opposition wants electoral reform and justice for those who died during a brutal government crackdown last year. The former Nicaraguan vice president discusses the ongoing opposition to President Daniel Ortega. Nearly 2 billion voters in 52 countries around the world will head to the polls this year to elect their leaders. Russian-Saudi relations could be very different today, if Stalin hadn't killed the Soviet ambassador to Saudi Arabia. How the art world's hunger for ancient artifacts is destroying a centuries-old culture. A journey across. The opposition wants electoral reform and justice for those who died during a brutal government crackdown last year. The former Nicaraguan vice president discusses the ongoing opposition to President Daniel Ortega. Algerian president's campaign manager files official papers but says he will call a fresh vote if re-elected in April. New documentary says Turkish investigators also found traces of Khashoggi's blood on walls of the Saudi consul's office. 70 years after the partition of India, we examine the troubled legacy of the event that shaped the subcontinent. In an era of disinformation, the CEO of Rappler takes on forces that she believes are undermining world democracies. People Power investigates the UK's scandalous neglect of its colonial-era African soldiers. One refugee family faces incredible odds and countless setbacks as they travel over 3,000 kilometers across Europe.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park.